Are you looking for an experience that will grow your teenagers' faith, increase their leadership skills, and teach them the discernment to engage with the world all around them, all while taking them on the adventure of a lifetime? I mean, who isn't looking for that? If your teenager loves fun, adventure, and wants to grow in their faith and leadership this summer, then send them to Excel's Summer Leadership Camp. Excel's Summer Leadership Camp is a 12-day experience for passionate young leaders looking to discover God's truth, to discern wisely, and live wholeheartedly. Your teenager will embark on a transformative journey in the Blue Ridge Mountains, where they'll build lasting friendships in the context of community, embark on thrilling adventures like camping, rock climbing, whitewater rafting, and they will receive expert training and certifications in categories like CPR and wilderness first aid. Each aspect of the camp is woven together to help them learn to discover truth, to discern wisely, and take godly action in the context of real-life situations. To learn more or begin an application, go to theexcelcamp.org. That's theexcelcamp.org. Hurry, because summer is just around the corner.
There are so many good people in the world, but sometimes they're too humble to shout that from the rooftops. You know, like the good people aren't as visible. And then it got me thinking, there's not really a brand.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Reclamation Podcast. I'm excited to bring you today's featured conversation with Betsy Westhafer. Betsy helps lead an organization called the Love Light Circle, and in our conversation today, we talk about what it means to dream big, like to step out of your comfort zone, how to impact change by doing the little things and trusting others to do their part. She shares a beautiful story about how her organization is trying to change the world. I know that you're going to love this conversation with Betsy. And if you do, the best compliment that you can give us is to share the episode, to tell somebody about it, to let someone know what's happening in the world and why this is something they need to listen to. So without any further ado, here's my conversation with Betsy Westhafer. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Reclamation Podcast. I'm excited to have an incredible conversation today with my good friend, Betsy Westhafer. Betsy, how the heck are you?
I am so good, Tony. So good to be here. Thanks.
Thank you so much for being here. I think you have a very important message for so many, and a message that the world needs to hear. So I'd love to just jump right into it. Sure. Why don't we start with kind of, a lot of people know about the Dayton shootings. I would love for you to tell us about it kind of from your perspective and how that whole week unfolded for you.
Okay, sure. So my husband and I were down at Lake Cumberland and got a text that morning saying there's been a shooting in the Oregon district. And of course, my heart just sunk. And my son had said, Mom, if we don't know somebody, we're going to know somebody that knows somebody, just because our community's, pretty tight.
Sure.
And so just holding my breath, until they release the names. But on the way home, I was going through Facebook trying to figure out what was going on. And I saw a picture, a group picture with my husband and myself in it. And it was from Halloween down the Oregon district several years ago. And I was like, why is this picture being posted right now? And then I read the post and I saw that our good friend Logan Turner had been killed in the shooting, and that our other friend Mason Martin had been shot in the shooting, along with Mason's cousin Travis. And so it was just completely the biggest gut punch in the world. And so got home, started talking with everybody, as everybody was just so blindsided and devastated that this could happen here. And
because Dayton still kind of has a small town feel to it.
Yeah.
And like you said, if you're going to know somebody, or you're going to know somebody who knows somebody, there's less than 500,000 people kind of in the area, more or less. And the Oregon district is like the central place where you're going to go out for nightlife.
Yeah. Super safe place, great place, good people. And So the next day I went to the prayer vigil down in the Oregon district, and it was all good. And then Governor DeWine got up to speak and people started chanting, do something, do something. And the next day I saw on the news, there were a bunch of people at the State House in Columbus screaming at the State House, do something, do something. And while I understand the emotion and the frustration about all of this, what struck me is it's just not good enough to yell at other people to do something. And I just kept thinking, what can I do? What could each of us do to make this better? And granted, it's a very multifaceted problem. It's kindness, it's mental health, it's guns, it's all kinds of different things that create this bad storm that we're in with these mass shootings. But I thought, what's one piece that I can impact? And so it's hard to explain, but I couldn't not think about it. And I just kept getting this flood of ideas of things that we could do. And so I started documenting them. And then I spoke with Logan's family and some of our mutual friends, and they kind of liked it, what I was thinking of putting together. And so
now, just real quick, when you say that it was consuming you, how did that feel in the sense of did it feel like a good consumption or more like an obsession, if I could use those words?
Yeah, I would say it would be closer to obsession.
Okay.
And there were so many emotions going on right at that time. Just I couldn't sleep for a number of reasons, and part of me would get excited about stuff we could do, and then 2 minutes later I'd be in tears. And a friend of ours said, yeah, it doesn't just come in waves, it comes in tidal waves. It was just so much emotion. So it was kind of a really back and forth between getting excited about doing something positive versus just being in this incredible state of grief about what's happened. And I tell people too, it's kind of a different kind of grief. It doesn't minimize other types of grief, but it's just a different type of grief when someone you know and love is killed in a violent crime.
Sure.
It's just a complete, nothing you were ever expecting. And so it was a lot of emotional up and down.
Now, I know that you are a woman of faith.
Absolutely.
And so let me ask you this. What's God, where's God fit into all of this? Because I imagine that there's a lot of people listening right now who are grieving, and maybe not grief from, tragic violence or senseless violence, but grief in general. How did God fit into that picture for you in the tidal waves?
Yeah, well, a couple of things, and you'll remember this conversation. I had reached out to you a few months ago saying I just couldn't find my passion and my place to get back to the community that I wanted to, and I tried a few things, but nothing that just got me jumping out of bed to say, yeah, I'm going to go make a difference in this way. And I was kind of struggling with that, and then this happened, and then I just got, as you said, obsessed with the idea of how can I make a change. And so I think that's one way God entered into this, is that he gave me that direction, that I had been looking for. And so rather than me going out and trying to find where I need to plug in, this thing happened, and it forced me to, I just don't have a choice. And I tell people I've never understood truly what it meant to have a calling until this happened. And I feel like this is my calling to make a difference in this way.
So how did you know it was a calling and not just a moment?
Because I felt like it just didn't stop in my head. Like I could just tell I was getting all this creativity flooding my head. I was getting all these people that were supporting what I was proposing. I've always, when people ask me, and it's kind of a weird term, but when people say, what's your superpower? I feel like mine is connecting people. And this gave me the ability to do that as well, to use my talents for something that will make a difference. So I just felt like the planets were aligning for this to be my calling. And so it's been going.
Yeah. And so let's jump back into that then. And so you've kind of got this calling and obsession, and for so many people, when they find their calling, it's like being set on fire but never burning.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling.
It is.
And you begin to talk to the Turner family.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me about that conversation. How does that go with them, and how does that lead to flushing out your calling?
Yeah, so I didn't know Logan's family before all this happened, and small world story, we discovered that Logan's stepmom is my husband's long lost second cousin that he grew up with as a child. So
wow.
And then
of course he is. Why wouldn't he?
Yeah, lost touch in adulthood, and we didn't know that all these years. So there was like this extra family kind of connection to all
it's
this.
A little bit of like trust almost built in.
Yeah, exactly. And so I honestly don't even remember how we started having the conversations. But I just said, we need to do something that, well, I can tell you, I do remember at Logan's funeral, somebody stood up and said, something good will come from this. We have to make sure that something good comes from this. And so I was having all these ideas, and I shared them and with some of Logan's friends. And I just thought, this is something that we can do to honor Logan's memory. This is exactly the kind of person Logan was, just always wanting to do good and put light into the world. And he was just such a positive force. And so it just felt like the right thing to do to honor his legacy, but also to do something bigger than Dayton and something that would kind of replicate Logan's spirit across the country and across the world. So that's kind of what's happening. And it's been very exciting.
Yeah. So tell us about the vision, because obviously this is it's gaining momentum as you and I sit here. There's more and more people are kind of logging into this community that that has been born out of the rubble of this tragedy. What is it?
Sure. So a little bit of background on how we got to this point. I was thinking, a lot of people were saying when this happened, I think they were getting this feeling that the bad guys were winning the war because they're louder. They get the headlines. There's one right after the other. And I felt like people were starting to feel defeated. And I thought, I know that's not true. There are so many good people in the world, but sometimes they're too humble to shout that from the rooftops. Like the good people aren't as visible. And then it got me thinking, there's not really a brand behind the good people. So if you think about the pink ribbon, people instantly know what that means.
Sure.
They know what the impact is. They know who's impacted. There's a community, there are events, there's all this love around, and even the business community with all the pink that they wear. And I saw a building the other day that had a big, huge pink ribbon on it. So just everybody coming together around this cause and this visible force that they are fighting that issue. And I thought, there's just not that brand for the good guys putting love and light out into the world. There's not that one community. There are a lot of people in lots of little communities that are doing really good stuff, but there's not the one big community of people putting love and light out into the world. So I thought, I think we need to build a brand, but we also need to have it do something besides just being a brand. So the concept is, it's called the Love Light Circle. And part of it is a Facebook community, and it was launched 3 weeks ago today, and we have 4,500 members already.
Super
from
impressive.
All across the U.S. and in 11 countries already.
Wow.
Which is super exciting.
That is super exciting.
Yeah, it's been really amazing. And right now we're doing this 50-day journey to get somebody from every state in the union to be a part of this. And so every day I go alphabetically and I post, hey, who do you know in Alabama? Invite them in. And we just go state by state. We're almost batting 1,000. So if anybody knows someone in Idaho, love to invite them into the circle. Right. But other than that, we're all the way through. Today was Maine. We're up to Maine. And instantly got people saying, hey, I'm from Maine, so we're batting 1,000 other than Idaho, but we'll get there.
We'll find. I mean, there's a potato farmer who needs to be in this circle. I know it.
Absolutely. So anyway, we've got this Facebook community, and the whole idea in the community is to post ideas of ways you can do random acts of kindness, or just people that are doing really good things in the world, and just to be a louder voice and have that one place where people can go. There's so much negativity on the internet, and we really wanted to create something where people could go and feel safe and know that it's a good place with good people, and invite this to grow and turn this into a national movement. The other thing we're doing is, in order to build this visible brand, we are building a web store where we're going to be selling t-shirts and hats and water bottles and magnets and all kinds of branded products. And 100% of the proceeds from those products will go into a fund that we've established at the Dayton Foundation. And that fund will then be used to extend grants to other nonprofits that are doing really love lighty type work. And so we're very excited about that. We've gotten some corporate donations already to get that fund started. The web store will open in a couple of weeks. We've got probably about 15 items that we're going to have in there initially. And one of our corporate sponsors is a company here locally called Shumsky. They are waiving all setup fees. They are not making a profit on any of this. So 100% of the profit from these sales will go into the fund. And they're managing a whole piece of it. Somebody on their team, their graphic designer, designed our logo, and he was actually down there that night.
Oh, wow.
And was saved by a piece of bulletproof glass. So having somebody that was so personally impacted by this be able to pour his heart and soul into our logo was just kind of an icing on the cake kind of thing.
Now, you said something earlier that I want to drill down on just a little bit. You said Love Lighty. It's a very Love Lighty nonprofit, and I appreciate the way that you've taken the brand name and now kind of turned it into an adverb or something like that, right? Like, it's very Love Lighty. So I would love for you to tell the people listening what makes something Love Lighty? Like, what's an example that you're seeing in this Facebook community?
Yeah, it's been really cool. People are posting some really cool things. So Love Lighty things can be random acts of kindness or something as simple. Today I posted, hey, idea of the day, let somebody in line in front of you. And let us know if you did something like that. And so the first post was, I am on a bus every day, and so I always let people off the bus first. And then somebody else said, I've been traveling this morning, I let the other people off the plane first. And it doesn't have to be a visible sign necessarily, but just something that you can do that makes somebody else's day better. So it could be something similar to that, kind of a easy little thing that you could do every day. We have one member who has set up these things at Starbucks with a pack of Post-it notes and some pens, just saying, share some loving thoughts and post them on this wall. And Starbucks has been very open to doing that. I think we're in 3 or 4 locations now doing that. Somebody else created a, like at the grocery store where they had those tearaway pull tab things like, hey, I'm selling my car, here's my number.
Yeah.
So she created this thing with a bunch of random acts of kindness, saying just pull one off and go do that random act of kindness that day. So what we really want is for people, not for us to drive it, but for us to help people find the inspiration to go do these really good proactive things in the world.
So you could say that Love Lighty is anything that promotes kindness, love, and shares joy in the world?
Yeah, it just makes the world a better place,
Because and do you feel like we've shifted away from that, or I often live in the tension of like I don't feel like the world is a bad place, but the good seems dormant at times. What's your thoughts on that?
That's exactly why we exist. I feel exactly the same way, that it's dormant or that it's just not as visible. And we really want to encourage people to be out there and share. This is what it means to go do good things and buddy up with a friend and go do something. You can buy somebody's meal behind you in line at the drive-thru, or just anything that really helps people see that there are good people in the world, because I feel like it's contagious. Just like the bad stuff is sometimes contagious, I feel like the good stuff can be contagious. And so that's kind of what we're after is, let's show people that we are a force. The good people are a force to be reckoned with in a good way, and share that inspiration and share the ability to talk about the good things that we're doing. And again, I think some people just feel like it's bragging or it doesn't count if you tell somebody. And I get that. That's how I've always been. But I think the time has come where we have to be a little bit more vocal about doing good things. So what one of the things we try to achieve in the Facebook community is to prompt people to tell it. So it's not them saying, hey, look what I did, but prompt them to say, hey, if you've done this, let us know. And so then it doesn't feel like people are being braggy about it.
Churches wrestle with this all the time. Like, we get to go out and serve all these members of the community, but then there's also that cultural feeling like, hey, look at us, look what we did, bro.
Yeah.
But it's not really about that as much as it is about telling the story, in our case, of what God is doing. And I think you guys are sticking pretty kind of non-faith related because you've got a global mission, and that makes a lot of sense for your organization. And so in this way, it's like, hey, look what love is doing.
Right.
Look what love is doing.
Right. And there are a lot of faith-based people in the community, and that's great.
Perfect, yeah.
We're certainly not keeping God out of the community. It's just we want to be so inclusive that people don't feel, don't have any kind of hesitation to be involved in a community like ours. And sometimes the people that do have an issue with that are the ones we most need to welcome in. And so I think it's like being it's no different really than being a visible role model for a child. We want to be that visible role model for everybody to say, here's some ways you can go do good in the world.
So it's been 3 months, 4,500 people on your Facebook page, corporate sponsors, Dayton Foundation, like
Cox Media Group,
Shumsky, your company, because you're CEO of a successful company. Let me ask you this: how has the Love Light Circle changed you personally?
This episode is brought to you by Peacock. The new Peacock original documentary, Matthew Perry, A Hollywood Tragedy, dives deep into the beloved actor's rise to fame and his tragic death. 5 people, including Perry's personal assistant, 2 medical doctors, and an alleged Hollywood drug dealer known as the Ketamine Queen, were charged with conspiracy to illegally provide Perry with the ketamine. Explore the details of the case in this heartbreaking special, streaming now only on Peacock.
Oh, gosh, so many ways. One, as I mentioned earlier, it gave me that sense of purpose in my life and helped me feel like now I'm truly connected to something that makes me know that I'm going to make the world a better place than when I got here. So that's the biggest thing. It's reconnected me with the circle of friends that we knew through Logan, because everybody gets busy and goes off and does their thing, and so now that group has gotten very tight and reunited and is working on this together, which is a super cool thing. I've had people come up to me and say, what you're doing, like, it's not about me. It's not about Betsy. It's this whole group. But they're like, what you're doing is so needed right now. And that feels good to hear. It feels like I'm helping to create something that fills the need for other people. So that feels great. But really, we just want this to be a national movement. And one of the ideas, we're still trying to refine exactly who we are and what the message is. It's new. It's very new.
I mean, anybody who's launched a brand knows that those first couple of years really is all about figuring out how this plays out. What it really looks like.
So one of the things that we're looking at is how do we get local chapters of Love Light in different communities and let them kind of show up in their communities the way that it makes sense for their communities. We don't want to dictate. We don't want to say, here's what you need to do. But okay, if you have a pocket of people in your community that likes this idea of Love Light and the Love Light Circle and what you can go do proactively as a group, figure that out and go do it. So we just want to support those local pockets of people that want to do this. So just trying to figure out what that can look like. And the web store will support it and some of the ideas that we've already gotten. And then the Facebook community is just so dynamic and really cool. And what we're seeing a lot of is how teachers are doing some really cool stuff to help their kids, their students become really good human beings. And we feel like it'll solve a lot of problems in the world, but certainly we hope it solves the problem of people feeling so distraught and so in a place where they would do something like what happened in the Oregon district. So hopefully we can avoid people feeling isolated or identify people that maybe need help and help them get that help.
Yeah, just bring people off the fringes and the marges, bring them back into a community that says, there's more. Yeah. Now, you and I are friends on Facebook, and I'm in the group, and one of the things I see often are hashtags that say Logan Hugs. Mm-hmm. Tell me the origin story of that. Tell me how that fits into all of it. Give me the scoop.
Yeah. So Logan's dad, Mike, obviously worst day of his life, and
of course.
I heard him, I'm repeating the story I've heard him tell, but he said the first few days, of course, he was very, very angry. And He said he was talking to Logan, and Logan said, "Dad, anger's not the way to go. Just go hug people." And Logan was a hugger, and so Mike has just taken that and just hugging people and just showing how much he cares about other people, and feels like that's Logan working through him. And so we started this hashtag Logan Hugs, and it really got some traction very quickly. So that's been a really cool thing.
Does he just show up places and hug people?
Yeah, there's a video of him. He was going, I think it was, I could have this wrong, but I think it was to the Dave Chappelle thing, and he was on a bus full of people, and before the bus stopped, he stood up and said, that his son Logan had been killed in the shooting and that he wants to hug everybody. And there's a video of him outside the RTA and people lined up just to get their Logan hug. So
wow.
It's very cool. He said he's only had one person that has said, pass, but he said most people are very open and receptive to it. And a lot
He's a pretty big guy, too.
He's a big guy.
That's like a bear hug.
It's a big bear hug.
That's a big bear hug.
Yeah, it's a good hug, too. I've gotten a few, and it's a really good... In fact, when we got things set up at the Dayton Foundation, we went outside and we all were doing Logan hugs, and we got some really great pictures from that. And it's just such a good thing to see and so heartwarming. And you think if somebody that lost their son in such a tragic way can find a way to give good out into the world within hours of that happening, then we all can. We can all go do something good. And so, yeah, it's cool to see it getting traction.
Yeah, because I feel like I see it everywhere on the internet, right? Like it's just hashtag Logan Hugs everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, how does that fit into Love Light? Is that just, one representation?
Yeah, so the thing for us that's been a little bit of a balancing act is we want this to appeal nationally and globally. So we don't want it to be just Dayton or, about a specific person, because there's so many families that have been impacted. Yeah,
because you guys are really trying to make this bigger than just the Oregon district.
Exactly. We really are. It's challenging because we have so many great supporters in Dayton, that are jumping on board. So we want to make sure that everybody knows that everybody is welcome from all across the world. So there are places where the Logan Hug thing works perfect. So, for example, we were invited to be a presence at the Dayton Strong City Fest down at Levitt Pavilion a few weeks ago. And they were so gracious. They had a big video wall with our logo and all kinds of cool stuff. So we were down there, about 30 of us, in our Love Light green t-shirts. And on the back, we put "Join the Circle" hashtag Logan Hugs, because it was super appropriate for a local event. But we don't want it to put people, to make people think that it's not about everybody, because this Love Light movement that we're creating is really about changing the world for everybody's benefit. So to make it specific about Dayton, we don't really want that to be the case. And that's what Logan's folks want as well. They want this to be a big national thing. So
as somebody who oftentimes has to get people to do stuff, volunteers, in the church world, we do this all the time. How do you engage this project in a way that doesn't burn you out? Because you're a successful business leader. You're doing about 1 million things. You got all the grandkids, and you're an incredible water skier, boater extraordinaire.
That is such a stretch, Tony.
How do you manage this passion project and keep it moving, and also manage the rest of your life?
Very timely question. I felt like it was my role to kind of build the foundation for it, because I had this vision. I've got the business experience and the connections in local business connections to make things happen, like the web store with Shumsky, because Shumsky's actually a client of mine. So it was just something that I was able to do on that front. So what I am thinking at this point is that I'm going to help get the foundation built, and we're going to build it in a way that empower other people to go do this stuff. We're actually having a meeting tonight where we're going to start really refining roles and responsibilities. We're looking at this as a business. We want to run this as a business so that it has the ability to scale, that people are doing what they say they're going to do, kind of an unspoken culture of accountability. If people say they're going to do something, we hope that they actually will, so that we can really get traction with this. So we're having a meeting tonight to see, okay, who's going to take different pieces and parts of this and take them and lead them, because it won't go anywhere if it's just me. And it's not just me already. I mean,
I don't know.
Of people,
You're a pretty powerful person.
there are a lot of people that are already plugging in lots of different areas. So it's absolutely not just me.
Sure.
It's just that I'm kind of the hub for a lot of amazing spokes.
Well, like you said, your superpower is connecting people. It's what you do professionally. It's what you do. It's just what you do. It's who you are. So that's really cool to see God use your gifts in this particular kind of output.
Yeah, and I think when you use the gifts that you've been given, it's easy, and it doesn't feel like work. It's this Love Light project. As much as I love my day job, if I could do this all day, every day, I would. I love it that much. I love the idea of where it can go. We have big visions of things we're going to do with it. But if I took the reins too tight, it would never go anywhere. I would be a bottleneck. I don't have the most great ideas. There's so many other people coming to me with great ideas. I'm just kind of channeling those a little bit. So the goal is really to get people in places where they're using their gifts and can help take this mission, out into their communities or whatever part they want to plug into. We've got some brilliant marketing minds in the group. Kathy's a teacher, a former teacher here in Centerville, actually. And so she's got a real passion around how do we get this in the schools. And so everybody has gifts that they can bring to this. And so I just want to get the foundation built. We got the fund set up. We got the web store almost ready to launch. We got the website almost ready to launch. So we're within a couple of weeks of all of that foundational stuff being done. And then just everybody take it and go.
So, one of the words I keep hearing again and again, I think I've wrote it down like 3 times, is the word gifts. And you and I talked prior to this incident about not sure where your gift should be used and what does that look like. And I would imagine there's somebody right now who feels like they don't know what they're supposed to be doing with their life, how they're supposed to be using their gift, which was you not too long ago. What words of wisdom do you have for them, for the person who's waiting to figure out what God's calling them to?
I think, and you and I had this conversation too, I asked you to help me understand the concept of surrender. And I think I was trying too hard to find my place. I'm like, oh, maybe I could do this because I like that. And my son's a disabled veteran. And I was like, oh, I really want to get involved in veteran issues. And I just couldn't find the right place for my skills in that. And I've tried several different things. I've been on some boards. And I think I was trying to push it too hard. And then finally, after I had the conversation with you, I thought, okay, it'll come to me where I need to be, and just don't fret and just listen with my heart, and just kind of know that God will put me where he wants me to be and on his timing. So
yeah, I think one of the things I hear in your story, and I think I see it a lot in scripture, is this idea of this this holiness in waiting. And that there's probably somebody listening right now who just needs to just wait and be okay with it. Which I think that's the hard part, right? Being okay with surrendering as an act of worship, and remembering that you're not God. But on the other side of it now, how does it feel? How does it feel differently? I mean, could you imagine what would have happened if you had already said yes to doing disabled veteran stuff?
Yeah, it's just so funny because I have a passion about a lot of things. I'm very passionate about disabled veterans, but I just couldn't figure out how to use my gifts for that. Absolutely have that passion. Just was like, it wasn't coming as naturally for me to figure out how to plug in. And so I think it is hard to wait. It's very, very hard to wait because I really wanted to get involved in something. And I also felt like, okay, what is it that will make me be willing to give up what little extra time I have? Everybody's busy. Everybody's calendars are full.
Yeah, but you're super busy.
Well, no busier than a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people have very, very full days. But it was like, what would be worth me giving up some of my free time for? And once I had the conversation with you, I thought, I think it'll come to me. But it is hard to wait, especially when you want to plug in and you want to do good things. And it's not to say you can't while you're waiting. You can certainly do some things, but to find that one big passion, some people find it when they're 5 years old. Some people find it when they're 70 years old, and we just don't know. So luckily and unfortunately, because of the circumstances, I found where I need to be in that. I wish it didn't exist. I wish the purpose for this group did not exist, but it does. And so that's what I feel like I need to do to make an impact.
Has this tragedy and kind of redemption story, I don't know if it's quite a redemption story, but it's certainly working that way. Has it changed the way you look at God at all?
Honestly, no. I still have my beliefs and my core and my peace with God. And I know some people have said after this happened that they get very angry at God that something like this could happen. I never felt that emotion. I certainly understand it, but
Sure.
But I never felt that. I'm not an angry person, so that just wasn't an emotion that came up with me. I just was praying that I would find my way to try to help with it. So I think that was a big part of this all happening. And B, that other people would find their peace and be able to manage their grief in a way that works well for them. So not really. I think God is a loving God, and it can be very confusing when things happen like this. But I think everybody kind of needs to process that in their own way. And
I really like the part of your story where you kind of leaned in, right? I mean, I think there's a lot of different ways to handle tidal waves,
mm-hmm.
and one way is to try to outrun them.
Yep.
And another way is to try to surf them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just get the impression that through all of this, you really leaned in to try to surf them as best you can.
Tony, that makes me think of a story. So if I can share,
please.
When you and I and some friends went out at 6 o'clock in the morning to Caesars Creek and went sunrise water skiing.
Which is one of my favorite things to do in the whole world.
Absolutely. Mine too. And I had never figured out how to get on the outside of the wake. I just never could do it. And Lilia said to me, don't try to just ride it over sideways. Turn your skis right into it and face it. Just face that wake and go over it that way. And it made all the difference. And the very first time I tried it, second time, when I did what she said, I just turned right into that wake and I got over it. And so it's kind of a metaphor for this. I just like, okay, I got to face this. And honestly, there were times after I put this idea out there and saw that it was kind of getting legs kind of fast, there were times I woke up in the middle of the night clutching my chest thinking, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I don't have time for this. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to ever do anything that would add more hurt to the families that have been involved. And that made me nervous. Like, I don't know if I should be doing this. And holy cow, I'm already complaining that I don't have enough time. Where am I going to find time to do this? And there were moments of real doubt going into this. Like, maybe I better just pull back on this and say, you know what, this is just a crazy idea I had. Maybe we can do something little, but we're not going to go big on this. And then the train just kind of left the station, and I was like, nope, this is bigger than I am. It's faster than I am. It's a need. Clearly, it's a need to get 4,500 people in a couple of weeks on the website or on the Facebook community. So, and there's still days where I wake up and like, oh gosh, I don't know if if I've got what it takes to keep doing this, but those are passing moments. But I do think just turning my skis into the wake and just going for it is.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, 5 years from now, how do we know if this experiment is successful?
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that we're going to be talking about tonight, what success looks like for us.
Sure.
Really define what that looks like. Initial thoughts are that we're not seeing horrible headlines as much as we do now. That would be a major win if it's more shocking when these things happen rather than, oh, another one, and not just mass shootings, but anything horrible in the world. It should be shocking. It shouldn't be everyday occurrence. And when I heard on the news when this happened that Dayton was the 250th mass shooting in 2019, I could hardly breathe when I heard that. I had no idea. And I thought, well, they got that wrong. Turns out that it's an accurate statistic. And so that should not be commonplace. And it's not commonplace in other countries. So what can we learn from other countries where this is not a problem? This is just not a problem in other countries. So how can we solve it in our country? So I hope to never see that headline again. Reality is we probably will, but we really hope we never see that headline again. And if what we're doing helps minimize that, then we'll feel like we're successful.
So how can people get involved in this process? How can our listeners get engaged and get connected to the Love Light Circle?
Yeah, so we have a Facebook community, Love Light Circle, easy to find. Love Light, all one word, but one world too.
Right.
So welcoming people to come in there and post and engage with the other members. It's just a phenomenal group of people. We also have, it's not our full website, that'll be a couple weeks yet, but there's a place to just sign up with your email address. So if you're not on Facebook, you can get email newsletters to find out what's going on. And then we just welcome ideas. What can you do to bring this visible force of good into your community, wherever you are? And then anybody's more than welcome to reach out to me at Betsy at thecongruitygroup.com.
And we'll link to that in the show notes.
Yeah, thanks. If you have any questions or have ideas that you want to share, or hey, can you guys support us in getting XYZ off the ground, because we feel like it's a good thing. And then at some point we're going to very soon have the information about the grants on the website, so people can, if they're part of a nonprofit, they can apply for these grants that we want to distribute.
Love Lighty grants.
Love Lighty grants. It's a verb, it's a noun, it's an adjective, it's an adverb. We're going to use Love Light in lots of ways.
I love it.
Yeah, in fact, somebody said to me the other day, they said, I'm just not feeling very Love Lighty today. And so, yeah, just, if we can make that a commonplace word. I saw a meme this morning that had this little girl, and she had these big sunglasses on that were shaped like a heart. Each one of the lenses was shaped like a heart, and it said, I can't see the haters because I've got my love glasses on. And I thought, if we can get people just looking through their love glasses, that will be a good thing too. And
so one of the questions I love to ask all my guests is if you go back 5-10 years, and before mass shootings were almost a commonplace occurrence, what advice would you give yourself? What advice would you give yourself
about
your calling, your gifts, this movement, about what do you think God's calling you to in the world, how to get there sooner?
I think I would give myself the advice to not overcommit in things that don't advance your life and the lives of those around you. So, I spend a ton of time with my family and my grandkids, but I've gotten involved in things because it was really important to them, and maybe it's because I wanted to help, but it took bandwidth. We each only have so much bandwidth, and if you're so busy doing, you don't have as much time to listen to what that calling is. So just trying to do as much as you can without it being limiting to yourself. I'm not explaining this very well, but
I actually think that maybe better than what you think. The idea of bandwidth. Be intentional about where who you give your bandwidth to.
Yeah.
That's what I really hear you saying.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people are wired to overdo that, and then they don't have the time. It's just like in your business, they say work on your business, not in your business. And so many people are busy working in life that they're not working on their life. And I think when you're too stacked doing and not enough time to just really think, that sometimes it takes longer. And I think that's why it took me so long, is because I was just going all the time, that I didn't really take the time to sit and think I wasn't intentional about where do I want to be, how do I want to show up in the world, who do I want to impact, how do I want to impact. I just never took the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a really good and timely word for a lot of people out there. So if somebody wants to connect with you, email, and then you also do some speaking and have done some writing as well. Is there a website that they can find information about you?
Not really. But one thing, if you don't mind me putting it out there, we do want to get out and speak, and there's several of us on the charter team, so to speak, that are willing to get out there and tell this story and try to invite as many people into this as possible. So we're always looking for speaking opportunities for service clubs. There are a lot of service clubs around here, or organizations that want to bring this kind of philosophy of Love Light into their organizations. We would very much welcome the opportunity to speak, and I'm happy to give my phone number either here or on the show notes.
People can call, get a hold of me, or get a hold of you via email. There's all the social media channels, and you're actually super responsive on the Facebook page as well. So you're on it.
It's such a cool thing to get to interact with these amazing people.
I love it. I love it.
It's a balancing act because I do have to keep my day job, and But I mean, if you think about the chance to just hang out with really cool people all day, and they're all here in this Facebook community, and it's definitely been a gift to me. I hope that Love Light will spread and be a gift to a lot of people, but it's one of the greatest gifts to me.
Well, Betsy, thank you so much for your heart, and thank you for what you do, and thank you for sharing Logan's story and your story on the show today.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for taking the time today to listen to this conversation with Betsy. I know that you found it as rewarding as I did. Hopefully you'll go out and you'll kind of use this as a catalyst to do something kind and something big in your world. I know that there are so many of us out there who are hurting in the world, who see pain, who've seen suffering, and this is our opportunity to do something about it. So thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time. And thank you for telling everybody about this podcast, because without you and your support, we wouldn't be able to continue to grow at the pace that we're growing at, which is incredible. So, as always, rates, reviews, that all helps. But the best compliment you can give us, share this episode with somebody you might know. Until next time, I invite you to check me out on Instagram, Facebook, @TWMilt. And we'll see you guys real soon.